Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at the Google Nest Audio. This is the newest smart speaker from Google. Previously, we've had the Google Home Mini, the Google Home, and even the Google Nest Hub. Today we're going to see how they compare and how they sound relative to each other. And of course, I'll put some references to the Sonos One or the Sonos Play One speaker, as well as the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf speaker, which incidentally costs the same as the Google Nest Audio. So without further ado, let's jump right in today. So before I go on to the rest of my video, as usual, I'd like to give you my answer up front. Should you buy these speakers? I would say yes. If you're in the market looking for a smart speaker and you have nothing to start with, you don't have a Sonos setup, you don't have anything else to set up with, this at $99 a piece is a great way to start. And for the first time in the Google Nest Audio ecosystem or the Google Home ecosystem, you're able to pair them up to get a true stereo image. So I bought a pair of these and they will cost $198 for a pair. Now this is in contrast to, say, the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf, which I have, or the Sonos Play One. The Symfonisk Bookshelf costs $99 a piece, same price, and the Sonos, even the One SL, would cost $179 a piece. Both of those can also pair into true stereo, but in terms of price-performance ratio, this guy is the one to beat today. And very quickly, I'd just like to show you the size. This is the depth of the speaker. Okay, size-wise, it looks similar to a Sonos One or a Sonos Play One, but a lot smaller than the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf speakers. But the depth of this is literally just like 2 inches deep. It is very, very compact, very small. And the sound that's coming out from this guy actually is surprising given its size. So if you have nothing else to begin with, these are the ones to get. But you're already committed in the Sonos ecosystem. You have to understand that these won't fit into the Sonos ecosystem, and you will have to use the Sonos One or the Sonos One SL or the Play Ones or even the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf or Lamp to use as your rear surround speakers if you have a Sonos home theater setup. And of course, these guys can't pair with the Sonos Sub, and that is the true advantage that Sonos ecosystem has over the Google ecosystem. There is no Google Sub, there's no Google Nest Sub. But hey, there's a thought. If Google comes with a subwoofer to pair with these guys, I might be there. So yes, summary, get these. Even if you have other speakers, they are relatively cheap at $99 and they are smart. The One SL has no mic. The Symfonisk Bookshelf has no mic. So there is no smart assistant, there's no voice assistant. These guys have it built in. And the sound is not that bad. Now, if you stay around a little bit more, I'll go into detail on how each of these sound in the lineup from Google, all the way from the oldest Google Home Mini up to what it is today, and I'll draw some comparison, including frequency response charts for these guys, and compare them to the Sonos Play One speakers and the Symfonisk Bookshelf speakers. And since you're still staying around, one important thing I have to tell you about these speakers is they are actually Bluetooth capable. I didn't actually notice that. I didn't read it in the literature when I was surfing and researching for these guys, but these guys are actually Bluetooth capable. There are no buttons for you to enable the Bluetooth pairing function, but if you just go into the Google Home app on your iOS device or your Android device, and you'll be able to set it up. Actually, the setup for these speakers are pretty much the same as for the Nest Hub or the Google Mini or the Home. So they are all pretty similar, and it is not the fastest, but it is neither the most difficult to set up. You just have to let it bounce around a little bit and it will come together. And once all the 4 colored shapes are all lined up in a straight line, then you're done and it is set up. Now, the pairing of them into a pair actually took a little bit of me digging around the menu, but you'll figure it out. It's a smart speaker, you're smart, you'll be able to figure out how to pair them in stereo. And once it's in stereo, the sound is actually pretty glorious. So back to the point I was trying to drive at, these are actually Bluetooth capable speakers. The IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelves aren't Bluetooth capable, the Sonos aren't Bluetooth capable. In fact, the only Bluetooth capable speaker under the Sonos range is the Sonos Move, and that costs a lot more than these guys. Of course, we're going to get into an argument of whether Wi-Fi streaming sounds better or Bluetooth sounds better, but I'll leave it for another topic, another day. Take it from me today that Wi-Fi streaming sounds infinitely better, and Bluetooth, it limits the bandwidth. It is not the most ideal audio streaming solution that you will be able to find. So let me remove this guy. So over here, you'll see that I have the Google Home Mini. This is one of the earliest device from Google Home that I've gotten. It's actually pretty small. It's the cheapest of the range. Yeah, the sound is quite thin. If you expect to hear any bass out of this, then I think you might be on the wrong channel. We don't call the sound coming out of this guy bass. There's no bass on this. Now, it may not be apparent because you will actually hear something when you expect a bass note. It is some kind of sound. I don't know what you call it, but the moment you step up, one up to the Google Home, and this is a much larger speaker. If I could remove, maybe I can't remove because the power is plugged in, you'll see that this has 3 drivers. And well, I'll show you the drivers in a while after I show you this front. This is where the volume control is. It runs in a circle. Pretty intuitive. It's a nice speaker. It's a nice looking one. The sound, the bass that's coming out of this is a lot better, infinitely better than the Google Home Mini. Granted, the price is maybe about twice as high or maybe even 3 times, depending on whether you can get a discount on that. But, you know, the sound is inferior. Well, they actually have a Google Nest Mini, which is an updated version of the Google Home Mini that is currently selling. And the sound is supposed to be a little bit better, but this is physics. This size, this thin, you're not going to get much of it. And it's pretty light too. Bear in mind, it is actually USB powered for the Google Home Mini. The new one, the Google Nest Mini, is actually, well, it's not USB powered. It comes with a jack, and the jack is a proprietary one that, you know, those plus minus, you just plug it right into the back. It's a little bit more useful in that version. The touch controls are there. There's a hole at the back for you to hang it on the wall. So that is a little bit more user-friendly. This version is the old one. This is the Google Home Mini. But in both cases, whether is it the Home Mini or the Nest Mini, the sound is not going to sound as good as the sound that's coming from the Google Home. Now, I'm going to remove this so that you can have a look. Okay. You can remove the bottom. It's magnetically attached. Yep. 1 driver and 2 to the side. Not sure whether these are powered or not, but it looks like they are radiators. But this is the main driver. Okay. So there are 3 drivers here, and it's definitely going to be sounding a lot better than the Google Home Mini or the Nest Mini. And there you go. There's fabric here, fabric here. In fact, across the whole Google Home product lineup, as well as the Nest product lineup, all of them are covered by some kind of fabric. And if you take a look at what I have here, I actually have a tear in the fabric already. I'm not sure whether this is going to last very long, but, well, why fabric? I don't know. Because if you look inside, it's actually all hold up the plastic anyway. Well, the fabric maybe makes it look attractive, and they can just use a different color fabric to give a different color. But, oh, you know, incidentally, this Google Home only comes in 1 color, and they only have this gray color cloth. Well, anyway, so next up here, we have the Nest Hub. So the Nest Hub is actually the one with the 7-inch screen. It is touch capable. It will show you the clock, it will show you the time, it will show you the weather, it will do a slideshow, and you can control your lights from here. I am not sure. Yes, basically everything that you set up, you can click, click, click without having to use your voice. And that is useful if you are, say, positioning this besides your bed, and if your partner is asleep, you don't want to have to sound it out. You can just go and navigate here, and you can turn on and off the lights without resorting to only voice control. The sound from this guy, to be honest with you, I would say that it is even inferior to the Google Home. The sound on this is very thin. It is just emitting from somewhere here. This is the part where the speakers are positioned. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but the sound is coming from this fabric portion. It plays YouTube videos. You can even watch the video here. Not the most ideal, well, if you're deploying this in the kitchen and you're using YouTube for recipe or to follow cooking instructions or tutorials, then this is pretty useful. This is probably useful for that purpose. But other than that, for sound, for music, don't go for this guy. this is not the one to go for. Which then brings us to the Nest Audio. The branding that Google has adapted for this, they're calling this Nest Audio. Not the Nest Hub, not the Nest Mini, not Nest Visual or anything else. It's Nest Audio. So you have this expectation that the sound is going to be great from these guys. And actually, I didn't know what to expect. I read reviews, but nothing beats hearing it for yourself. So when I first set it up, I wasn't sure what to expect. I went through the menu first and I saw that they have equalizers. Equalizers for bass, equalizer for treble. And they also have a balance control left and right. The whole setup for the stereo pairing is not very difficult, and you just choose, again, like the new pairing process from Sonos. It will sound off and it will say, is this the left speaker or is this the right speaker? You click it and that's the correct orientation. Now, I received this yesterday and I have been very, very busy at work. So guys, do pardon me, I have not been keeping up with the messages and the comments that you guys have been leaving on my videos, but I will take weekends to reply to them and catch up on those comments. So do keep those comments coming in and I appreciate your support. So because it just came yesterday and I was actually tied up at work quite late last night, I didn't have much time to spend with these guys. I ran through my Pete's playlist. If you have not seen that video, you should check out the video here where I will run through a couple of songs which I use to test all my speakers. And while running through that playlist today, I was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised, positively surprised. I wasn't expecting much, but maybe because I wasn't expecting much, the sound that came out actually kind of blew me away. It is because, this is so small and this is so thin, so much thinner and smaller. I would say that volume-wise, it is probably half that of the Sonos One or the Play ones, and probably a third to a quarter that of the Symfonisk Bookshelf speakers. But the sound is actually large, is big, and I keep to my own recommendations, right? I told you that if a smart speaker can be paired to a true stereo, buy a pair of them. I bought a pair of them, so both came together at the same time, and pairing them up, it gave me bliss. The sound staging was actually none too shabby at all. So I got very curious and I wanted to find out how it actually is responding via a frequency response curve. So those of you who are familiar with my channel, you will know that I do a lot of these kind of testing. I use a U-Mic 1, I pipe the frequency sweeps through the speakers, I use the mic to measure it, and I chart the frequency response. So I've done that for the Sonos One before, I've done that for the Play ones, I've also done that for the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf speakers, and today I did it for the Google Nest Audio speakers in a pack. And I'm going to pull it up here, okay? So take a look at this chart. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the colors mean yet, all right? But you can actually see at the higher frequency response range, you see it's kind of like a mixed bag where either Sonos Play 1 or the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf or the Nest Audio is going to overtake one another at different points in time in the higher end of the frequency curves. But what I'm interested in today and what you will hear today, what most people hear and find differences in speaker and music audio quality coming out of speakers is the bass response. And if you look at the bass response, you'll see that the response is rather different. And you'll be wondering to yourself, oh wow, there is actually quite a difference. And you'll be wondering which one is the one that is giving the best bass response. I'm not sure whether you'll be surprised. I was surprised. The red curve is the IKEA Symfonisk Bookshelf speaker. So in terms of bass response, it is probably the weakest. I would say it starts to tail off at about 60 Hertz or so, and below that you probably won't make much of the bass response. Now the green curve is that of the Play one, the Sonos Play one. The bass response is actually pretty great. And at the same decibel rating where I'm cutting off the Symfonisk Bookshelf speaker, it will come in and cut off at about 37, 38 Hertz. And that is the same volume as the Symfonisk Bookshelf cutting off at about 60 Hertz. Now right in between, the blue curve is that of the Nest Audio. So imagine my surprise when the bass response from this small speaker here is actually able to better that of the Symfonisk Bookshelf speaker, which is easily twice the height maybe and double or triple the volume even. In fact, I would say it's probably 3 to 4 times the volume of this speaker. But the bass response coming out of this guy is great. It's much better as indicated by the blue curve over the Symfonisk Bookshelf red curve. And then the green curve. Of course, the Sonos Play 1 or the Sonos 1SL is going to be sounding a little bit better because, well, I hate to say this, but they are more expensive, but they are more expensive because they've also been more established and more R&D has gone into it. The DSP has been tuned and perfected over more than a decade by Sonos. Which brings me to the point of DSP. So ignoring this chart, now we're going to remove this chart so you don't get influenced by the chart anymore. We know that the bass response is somewhere in between the Sonos 1 and the Symfonisk Bookshelf speakers, regardless of physical volume of the speaker, regardless of the physical size of the speaker. Okay, but how it actually might have achieved that, how Google might actually have achieved that, is that there is a lot of DSP at play here. So, like I said, I test most of my speakers at about 50% volume, sometimes 40% if it clips. But this guy, at various volumes, when you're changing the volume, right, you will actually hear slight, very small pops. And that is as though the DSP is trying to pull back the cone and restricting it from over excursion to protect the speaker. But in itself, it is already trying to bump up the bass response through DSP. So when you are changing volume on the Nest Audio, I'm not sure you might be able to catch it as well. I can hear it. When you're changing volume, the DSP is continuously working, trying to make sure that the cone's excursion limits aren't reached. But all in all, I'm actually very happy with this, guys. Maybe I'll just play a quick clip so that you can hear. It's not going to be the perfect recording, it's just going to be picking up from my lavalier mic. I will be doing a showroom series, which I've done for a few, and I'm going to link that series up here above, where you can hear all the different recordings that I've recorded from my different speakers that I have tested at home. So I'll run this up next, and I'm still behind on that recording, and I know one of you have asked for the Sonos Beam. I will also prioritize that. But these guys, you probably want to hear them for yourself, how good they're actually sounding here. By the way, that was over Bluetooth. It's coming from my Mac on Apple Music, playing a downloaded MP3 file, streaming it over Bluetooth to the Nest Audio. Just to give you an idea, the recording is not going to be very accurate, so wait out for the showroom series. So in final conclusion, I actually am liking this pair of speakers. They're $99 each, running you $198, and I got them with a launch discount, so it was even, I think, maybe, I'm not sure, 10-15% cheaper. I'm happy with these guys. I just don't have the space to put them now, so I'm just trying to figure out, maybe I should be bringing them to the office, but that will be disturbing a lot of people, or putting them on my desk where actually it takes up very little space. So that is one serious advantage this is currently having in my books.